Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please adjust your volume to its maximum capacity and prepare for some great times. Welcome to the Blowed Out Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Good Lord, it has been a long time, my friends, and I apologize for that. Had a bunch of stuff. Well, had a bunch of stuff planned in June, and then a bunch more stuff come up. So, Lord, I apologize for episode 15 taking so long. I promise you that was not the plan. But here we are. I hope everybody's been doing good since the last time we did this. Genuinely, man, it has been quite a few weeks on both ways you can say that. It's been quite a few weeks, but it's also been, holy shit, what a train wreck of a few weeks. Plus, I snuck in a vacation. So, kind of can't fault me there. Got to get out every once in a while, right? And I mean every once in a great while. But since the last time we talked, man, I've run the gamut from having a teenager turn 16 to having said 16-year-old the very next day offer me some free body work on my primary mode of transportation after letting him drive, which I'll get into just a hair more in a minute. So we had a birthday, we had a series of automotive events that went poorly. Then we had Father's Day. Then I've unfortunately had a little bit of a health hiccup and a vacation. Good Lord. That's a whole lot of shit to squeeze into a month. But it is what it is, and we shall move on. Everything goes on, right? So, the day after my son turned 16, I was finna, I don't know. Everybody always gives me shit for saying funna. I was finna do a podcast episode, but I decided to do a couple other random things, and then decided it would be a good idea to let him get some driving practice in. So I grabbed me a few cold ones, and we sat out, and everything was great. He's a good kid. He's a damn good kid. For those of you who don't know him, he's an amazing kid. He's shit. He's he just made second lieutenant at Utah Military Academy. He is a member of the National Junior Honor Society. I don't know if I'm saying that right. National Honor Society. Shit, I don't know. Some sort of cool thing that I was never smart enough or present enough to be part of. He's a really good kid, but so we set out, and we drove all over, from hell to breakfast. Probably, I don't know, we drove around for an hour and a half, and I just let him go. Just get in my very nice SUV and drive and just go, hell, I don't know, take a left here. Fuck it, take a right there. He did great. And so then I decided, hell with it, let's get into a little bit hairier traffic situations, and let's head for our shop. So we drove down to the shop, hung out with the boys for a little while. It started to get dark. So I said, well, let's head on back before it gets too dark. Or head on home, rather, before it gets too dark. And so we did. Everything was great. Everything was fine. And we pulled into the driveway. And he was pretty off center in the parking department. So I told him, I'm trying to teach him, not just, be like, well, okay, try again next time. No, you back up a little bit. Let's adjust and let's do it right. Otherwise you're never going to learn. And if this had been like a parking lot full of cars, that wouldn't have worked anyhow. So let's do it again. Let's make it right. Well, unfortunately, he got a little bit bucky on the re-entry and jacked the wrong pedal. And a 4,000-pound SUV with a V8 decided to take off like a missile into the carport pole and the neighbor's car. Well, shit. Unfortunately, the neighbor's car did not fare very well, and of course it pushed it into the car next to it because a big black thing hit it. And I'm not talking about me, but long story short, probably about $10,000 deep in repairs to the neighbor's cars, which again, is what it is. I could have got mad, but it's on me. I owned it. And unfortunately, he was not on my policy and did not have his permit, so that's coming right out of my butthole, which still hasn't recovered, but so there was that. And then, but again, is what it is. It happens. Shit happens, right? I'm sure more than just me can say they've had it happen, so it is what it is. He did a good job. I guess that's the takeaway, is he didn't half-ass it. So there's that. Anyhow, hell, now it's been long enough. Hope everyone had a great Father's Day. All the fathers. At least all the fathers that are fathers or dads. Not the ones who just, squirt and skirt. But, and then 4th of July, I hope everyone had a great 4th of July, safe, and had some fun, and got out and did something. Jesus, that's how long it's been. It's crazy. And like I said, I apologize. I'm going to try to do better in the future for next time I decide to go on a little hiatus. I'll have a couple episodes in the can for you guys that I can at least keep them dropping, so I'm not a total piece of shit. But I decided, because of my little health hiccup, I needed to get the F out. Plus, I already had reservations, so took the fam up through Island Park to Yellowstone and Jackson and Pinedale, and then down into Lava Hot Springs, Idaho. Sorry, I guess I should remember that not everybody knows what I'm talking about, but went to Yellowstone, long story short, for a few days and had a good old time. Had some great times, saw some crazy shit. My ticker was acting up, so I did a lot of sitting, I was mostly just sitting and observing, but at least I was in a great place. It's absolutely one of my most favorite places on earth. And if you've never been, Lord, you need to. I highly recommend it. I was just talking to shit. Now I forget. I was just talking to somebody yesterday or the day before about it, and she was saying that she'd never been. And it was on her bucket list. You know, shit. You could do 3 or 4 days easy. I mean, you know, not gas and food and everything else, but you could do shit. You could do 4 days in a nice hotel. You know, if you didn't want to camp in the park or whatever else, you could still do 4 days in a pretty decent hotel for under $1,000. I mean, it's just, and then you don't have to be like crazy hiker person. You know, there's a ton of stuff you can see from the road or from pretty close to the road. Luckily for me, you know, it was all about the family. I mean, I've been going up there my whole life, so I've seen it all, which is also a bonus that I know I know what most of it is, and I can point out things and go to places. And so anyhow, just some, you know, like I said, great times, fresh air. Unfortunately, now my horn has decided to present itself. Fuck. I have some sort of horseshit thing that pops out of my forehead like a rhinoceros horn when supposedly it's stress induced. And apparently it's like a cold sore. Apparently I got forehead herpes. Christ, I don't know. But when it also typically presents, and it literally is like a little sore, almost like I scratched myself, and then it will blow out of my forehead like a goddamn horn. It's stupid, and it hurts, and it sucks. But typically, the most often when it presents is when I get sunburned. So, of course, my dumb ass at Old Faithful took the kids to see Old Faithful. And as we got out of the car, I thought, well, you know, we'll only be out of the car for a couple minutes. I don't need my hat. Well, there's this really cool thing that happens at about 8,500 feet above sea level. Between, I don't know, 7,500 and 9,000 feet. The sun teams up with what most people would call God, or what most people would refer to as God, and he gets out his magnifying glass and he says, oh, hey, look, there's a pasty fat guy with a shaved head. Let's fry his head like a fucking ant with a magnifying glass. So in about the same amount of time it took me to think to myself, I don't need a hat, my head was already fried. So I got a real nice sunburn, and now my horn is poking out. But, again, it is what it is. I don't regret it, and it'll go away just like everything else. But, yeah, FYI, if you go to Yellowstone and you are not accustomed to higher elevations or high elevations, yeah, you'll fry in about 2 seconds flat if you are I don't know, like a Scottish, Irish, Icelandic, you know, super pale, shaved head person such as myself. So remember your sunscreen or your hat, kids. Also, what you shouldn't do is, while you're walking down Main Street in West Yellowstone with what I assume is your wife, You shouldn't talk shit loud enough for everybody else to hear it, or we laugh hysterically and make fun of you on podcasts. So I'm sitting on Main Street in West Yellowstone, and I've got my dog because she's a good old girl, but she has terrible separation anxiety, so the dog got to go on the road trip also. So I've got her, and like I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm not walking around. I'm not hiking. I'm laying low. I'm just people watching, and we're sitting kind of out front of a little bistro thing in West Yellowstone while the family is inside getting us some grub. And there's a little bookstore, gift shop, one of the gift shops. That's all gift shops, but one of them is like almost entirely books. It's presented as a bookstore. And this couple comes walking along. And the guy, of course, is pretty typical, showed up in like a beat down Dodge extra cab. I assume, I don't know. But cowboy boots outside of his pants, the whole nine. But she says, oh, honey, let's go in there. Look, honey, a bookstore. And he looks at her and he goes, oh, hell no. She turns back and she says, baby, why? And I shit you not, he looks her dead in the ocular sockets and says, baby, you know you don't read. And I thought, oh my God, but it was loud. It was like, it was right in front of God and everybody. Like, baby, you know you don't read. And honestly, I wish now I could remember if he said don't or can't. But either way, it was damn funny, and I guarantee he got no booty that night. But I do appreciate the fact that it was funny as shit. And I thought, oh, damn it, that's too great. Between that and my kid being observant of all of the Utah kids in the pool and decided to tell me that they had the tism. God damn it, he's been hanging out with his dad way too long, because that was his takeaway is, thinking all those, boy, those kids have got the tism. That's funny shit. I don't give a damn who you are. I figured I'd give a couple of shout outs along the way to the people that deserve it. In West Yellowstone, shout out to the Asians, for a lot of good people watching. God knows, for those of you who have never been there, there is what I would refer to normally as a fuck ton of Asians, which is cool. I mean, I don't have a problem with Asians, but man, there is a lot of them. They flock from all over the world, mostly China. And I know this because they literally just tens of thousands, busloads and busloads and busloads of them. In fact, one time we were down in Salt Lake. I was down in Salt Lake. We were hanging out, and I may or may not have been doing mushrooms. and a Yellowstone tour bus pulled in to the hotel we were chilling at, and we were out front smoking, just hanging out, chatting, just enjoying the evening. And a Yellowstone tour bus full of Chinese folks pulled in, to spend the night at this hotel, and a Chinese gentleman came out. Sorry if I've already told this story, but a Chinese gentleman came walking out of the lobby out to the little benches, like the little sitting area, smoking area, where we were just chilling, enjoying the evening, and sat down to smoke. And I said hi. I think he asked for a lighter or motioned, hey, can I borrow a lighter? He did not speak a lick of English. And I thought, yeah, okay, cool. But again, I may or may not have been not in my right mind. So I wanted to have a conversation with this feller. He seemed cool. He was smoking some smokes I'd never seen before. And so I ended up having a 3-hour conversation with this dude through Google Translate, which super cool that's even a thing, Awesome. It's so cool that my dumb ass could sit there with a beer, possibly on psychedelics, and he could talk to my phone and it would tell me what the hell he was saying, and then I could talk back to my phone and it would tell him what the fuck I was saying. Awesome. Ended up being a super cool dude, but they had just come from Yellowstone, and he told me that, it was this big deal where and I was trying to tell my kids this over the weekend, and I apologize if I butcher it. Not that anyone listening may or may not have a clue as to what I'm talking about, but if I remember even remotely correctly, he had said that they had flown to, let's say, Seattle, and then got on a bus and went down, down, I don't know, through wherever to a couple of random, cool places and then spent a couple of days in Yellowstone, and then down out of Yellowstone to Salt Lake, and then the Grand Canyon, I think, after that, and then I think ultimately ending up in LA, where they would get back on a plane and fly back to China. It basically is, the gist of what it was. It was kind of a, hey, check out all the cool places, Grand Canyon and Yellowstone and all the places that you're going to rub. But he said that he had saved up for 2 years because it was $10,000 US. And it was just hundreds of them on this, on this bus, which sounds crazy to us, but that's how they do it, just people on top of people on top of people. And I thought, holy shit, man, that is not cheap. That's super cool, that how somehow they get, at least to get the hell out of China, where I can only imagine, is just a total shit show of people, and come see those kinds of places that, to anyone that, Florida or even people in the U.S. that, like I said, Florida, Louisiana, places you can't even fathom, this kind of country, 10,000 foot mountain passes and just, trees. And again, obviously everybody, I'm sure, knows that recently in the news, there's been a lot of, and every year there always is, but recently there seems to have been a lot more dumb bastards who, either, oh, I wonder how hot the water is, and boil the fucking flesh off their bones, and a thermal feature, because apparently the boiling water and the steam when it's 80 isn't a dead giveaway. Or they try and pet a buffalo or an elk or a bear, which is just ludicrous to me. But I shit you not, I've been going there my whole life. My father and I used to go up there and take pictures all the time. I've literally probably been there, Lord, more times than I can count or even recall. However, it never ceases to amaze me, or never ceased to amaze me, how many people, like globally, are under some sort of impression that it's like a zoo. There are people, I have talked to people personally, in the flesh, right out of their mouths, who have told me that it's so cool. They think it's so cool that all these animals are there, that like like the United States set it up as a petting zoo. Like, they can't believe that all these animals just come out for everybody to go and see and pet and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, no. No. Oh God, no. You've got it all wrong. German person or Chinese person or, whatever random person, nationality or whatever, whoever it was at the time. I'm like, oh, that's why you dumbasses are getting gored by bison and, shit out by bears. Or punked in the ribs by elk. You think like they're domesticated. You think they're there as part of the attraction. Holy shit. This is a real thing, people. I have talked to people who believe that this is a thing. And then they say, well, it's so unfortunate that elk just kind of went crazy, that bull elk. Apparently forgot his training and gored that woman. Like, what? No, that bull elk doesn't like your ass and doesn't want you fucking taking a selfie with him. Holy shit. That has always blown my mind. Always blown my mind. Honestly, I don't know if it's happening more, or maybe I've just noticed it more recently because, we were headed that direction. I don't know. I don't ever remember the natural selection being this much this early in the year. I mean, there's already been, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 incidences in Yellowstone of people either getting bulldozed by animals who don't fucking like them, or people deciding that, maybe volcanic water is just really warm, like a hot tub, and we should get off the path or off the trail and dip our feet or our hands in it to see how warm it is. Good Lord. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I promise you. You can try, but you just can't. What a shit show. Speaking of shit show, what the hell? Why are we not getting some of the cocaine that was allegedly just found in the White House? I mean, granted, we already know whose it is. We can point fingers, but it's all of them. It's all of them. Cocaine. I would like to do a couple rails in the White House. Come on, Hunter. Share the love. Dumb. Just dumb. Is it just me? Or are we getting dumber as a society? I pose the question. Sadly, I genuinely believe this has been happening for years and years and years and years. I also believe that this microphone is really good at picking up my breathing. However, random side note, we have been becoming dumber and dumber as a society for years. And that's unfortunate because people aren't necessarily stupid. But as a whole, when you factor in the entire herd, we got some damn problems, folks. And I hate to say that, but it's true. Anyhow, back to what I was saying, which is rare. Not rare that I say that or bounce around, but to give a couple of shout outs, if you are heading into the Yellowstone, Jackson area, or would like to, I would genuinely like to give some shout outs. And as much as we joke about this podcast being a terrible idea for sponsors, it's really not. It's all in fun. We joke, we have fun with it. Generally, yeah, there's some train wreck going on, but it's a good time, and I feel like, if you think you would like to join us in this journey, I don't want to discourage you. But again, I would like to shout out the few folks along the way that I feel deserve it, even whether or not they want me to or or are paying me to or not. So, if you happen to be traveling to that area, Yellowstone, there's West Yellowstone, Montana. There's a bunch of cool stuff. There's a lot of cool places. Generally they're all the same. But we did find a pretty bitchin' little place called Yogi's Waffles and Grill. Don't get me wrong. It's a walk-in, street kind of food kind of place, which there's nothing wrong with. That's exactly what I was looking for, because I had the damn dog and everything else. So this place was bitching. They had a really good Reuben, really good turkey club, fries and all that kind of mess. So I'd like to give them a shout out. They let me have the dog, goddamn dog. But yeah, they were super cool, good food, real decent prices, right on Canyon Street, which is, basically Main Street. As you come in off of 20, either from Island Park, come in from 20 from Island Park, or the other one from like Bozeman, it's going to spit you out right onto Canyon Street. And then you take that over to Yellowstone Avenue, I believe, which is the road that takes you up to the gate and into the park. Like I said, super cool, pretty damn good Reuben. I thought they had a patty melt, but didn't. I don't think. Shit, I don't know. I had the dog, so I wasn't ordering. I was just the fat guy in the corner with the dog. Super cool. Like I said, good food. Let me have the dog. Had ice cream. It was all fresh. Bang up right there. So shout out to those guys. And then, moving on from there, Jackson Hole. If you know Jackson Hole, it's a wonderful place. I love it. Excuse me. I love it dearly. But if you know, you know. And what a lot of people don't know is Jackson Hole used to be full of millionaires. Unfortunately, the billionaires have now kicked the millionaires out. And so Jackson's really cool to walk around. And there's a lot of hiking and everything else. at the foot of the Tetons. It's an amazing place. I love Jackson Hole to death. But you are going to seriously damage your wallet eating, staying, anything in Jackson Hole. All the shops, like I said, super cool. But hold on to your ass as far as prices go. But I think that's nothing new for anybody who's ever been there. It's just the way it is. And it's worth it, don't get me wrong. The one place that I would love to shout out in Jackson Hole, and it wasn't from this trip, is Lewis and Clark River Expeditions. About 15 years ago, I made the poor decision of marrying a horrific, slutty bag of guts, which is a whole different story. But I took her there for our honeymoon, and for our honeymoon, we did a series of rafting adventures. So Lewis and Clark offers a scenic river float with lunch, and it basically goes from like Teton Village down to Hoback Junction. This thing was ridiculously amazing. It's super, super, lazy. Lazy is a bad term, but I meant like lazy river. There's no white water. It's nothing. From Teton Village down to Hoback Junction, basically, is just, super chill, wide open. No white water, no anything. Amazing fishing. We saw bald eagles. We saw a golden eagle that, holy shit, was the size of one of my children. Had lunch on the river. It was just amazing. And then later in the day, we went down to Hoback Junction, or past Hoback Junction, and whitewater rafted down through the gorge or through the canyon or on the way to Star Valley, Idaho. Well, on the way to Alpine, Wyoming, into Star Valley, and this was off the chain. You guys, I cannot express enough how much fun this is. It's literally some of the most fun you can have with your clothes on. It was ridiculous. They are compression rapids, so depending on the water level, aka the time of the year, how high the river is running, the two big major rapids are either Lunch Counter or Big Kahuna. So typically in the spring, Big Kahuna is hitting hard and Lunch Counter is not. In the fall, Big Kahuna is not and Lunch Counter is. Luckily, I got to show my kids where the pictures came from. This, like I said, this shit is off the chain. I genuinely did not think I was going to have this much fun. This was obviously a bunch of years ago, the time I'm speaking of, but I took my kids down the canyon and showed them just this past weekend, and it was obviously just as great for anyone doing it now or, anytime. The Snake River is just amazing. And it depends on where you are. Island Park, some of the finest trout fishing on the planet. Hoback Junction, or Hoback, where Hoback comes into the Snake down through the gorge into Star Valley, is world class whitewater rafting. I just can't say enough good things about it. But then we ventured over into Pinedale, Wyoming, which has kind of been my second home my entire life. And fun fact, well, little known fact, Half Moon Lodge, or Half Moon Lake Lodge, is just unbelievable. Just, you can't put it into words. Half Moon Lake is also where my very dear kid sister's ashes are. I put them there. Unfortunately, I think 21 years ago now. It's a very special place for all of us. But it's also ridiculously beautiful. It's an amazing lake. Literally right at the entrance or the start of the Wind Rivers. Amazing trout fishing. Scenery is unparalleled. And Half Moon Lake Lodge has almost been unchanged for my entire life. There are a series of cabins right on the lake. They switch back from the lodge up to, up the side of the mountain. I can't say enough good things about it. It's wonderful. The restaurant, if I'm being honest, is ridiculously overpriced. I cannot speak for the food. However, as far as as far as fresh trout or filet mignon, literally right on the lake, on the outside patio, you can't beat it for scenery. But the cabins and everything else are just hands down the best. And Pinedale, although has grown exponentially since my youth, is still almost exclusively non-corporate. So there's no Walmart, there's no McDonald's, there's none of that horse shit. It's still small town. They still do a semi-annual cattle drive down Main Street from the winter grounds to the summer grounds, vice versa. It's just one of the greatest places on earth. Also, fun fact, the first place I ever caught my first fish, or the first place I caught my first, the first place I caught a fish, the place I caught my first fish. It's just an amazing place, and I can't say enough good things about it. From there, we went again down through Hoback Junction, down the canyon, into Star Valley. Star Valley is amazing. Alpine, Wyoming is, again, beautiful, and unfortunately, it's grown exponentially, but it's still just an amazing place. It's wonderful. If you ever get the opportunity, I suggest you go over Tin Cup Pass, into Soda Springs, Idaho, from Star Valley, and then drop down into Lava Hot Springs, Idaho, which is a really cool little town on the Port Neuf River. that really only exists because of the crazy natural hot springs and mineral springs. So there's all kinds of pools and, natural hot springs and natural hot pools, or pools filled with hot spring mineral water. All kinds of hotels and everything else. The reason I bring this up is because there's a couple of places there. The Lava Hotel and Spa. Really, a lot of it is, like I said, seasonal. Maybe not seasonal, but it's not a lot of money. It's 10,000% tourist, driven. A lot of it is really old little, almost like hostels and B&Bs and stuff like that. So the rooms typically are not that great, but the Lava Hotel and Spa, phenomenal little room. You have to walk, I don't know, a couple 100 yards to the hot spring mineral pool, which is right next to the Portneuf River. You can float the river. It's really great. I highly recommend it. And then there's a little place next door called The Shack, and it literally is a shack. It's a tough shed. The food, it's 100% either walk up and take away or walk up and order and then sit down at like one of the little patio tables. The food is stupid good, y'all. In-house chips for the nachos, just holy shit. Amazing food. Hands down. It was phenomenal and very reasonably priced. I have nothing but good to say about it. Again, just could not be better food. And the fact that it's coming out of a tough shed will just blow your mind. It's wonderful, and I highly recommend it. And during the summer, I highly recommend Lava. Again, it's touristy and there's a shit ton of people, but you can float the river. The kids have a great time. There's a giant Olympic pool with diving platforms and water slides and everything. It's really just a great little place. And it's, again, it's shit. It's reasonably priced for what it is. It's a bit much for some of it, but again, all we get to take with us is memories, so might as well spend a few bucks and make some. And on that note, I guess I could keep rattling on, kids, about Lord vacation bullshit and little out of the way whole restaurants and all kinds of other stuff. But I guess at the end of the day, I could just keep rattling on about my vacation or whatever else, or little hole in the wall restaurants. But now's as good a time as any to bow out and leave you with some food for thought for this episode, and maybe save a little for the next one. I don't know. Nobody gives me any feedback, so I don't know if you're still enjoying it. I certainly hope you are. I'm still having fun, and even though I had a gnarly, several week hiatus, I don't plan on leaving you that high and dry in the future. And again, I apologize for my hiatus, and like I said, hope everybody has had a great couple of holidays and everybody's doing good. And if you would like to get your company's name out, hit me up. we can work something out cheap for a sponsorship, or if you've got some events coming up, like I say every time, let's do some events. Let's get some stuff going. If you want some stickers, whatever, hit me up at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com. Blowed Out Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I think. Hell, I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember at this point. I haven't said it for a minute. So, and then everywhere you can get your favorite podcast. Let me know. As always, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Evolution Design Works. If in Ogden, Utah, if you need some custom fabrication, custom handrails, plasma cut art, welding, signage, any of those things, hit these fellers up. They can take care of you. In the meantime, like I said, hope everybody's had a great week. Hope everybody has a great week coming up. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. Cheers.